So welcome everybody. I'm so happy you're here. It's an honor to be part of Learning Human, the inaugural. My name is Karina Branson and I'm a graphic facilitator. If that is a new concept for you, you may have seen my face tile in some of the sessions as I'm capturing visually while people are talking the key ideas in words and pictures. So, all right. Here is our outline today. So I'm going to go ahead and go over kind of the big picture and lay out some Zoom etiquette, and then we'll get into it. And there will be some content, knowledge dropping, as well as practice. Again, I'm Karina. My business is called ConverSketch, and I've been practicing for about 10 years now, which is crazy. And it makes me feel really good that I get to do something creative, because I dropped my art major in undergrad because I didn't think I was good enough. Pursued environmental science communication, and now I get to blend them both. So I'm going to nerd out with you all a little bit about the science behind why this is a great tool. It's not just fun and pretty, it's super useful, and there's some really cool brain science behind it. So, Zoom etiquette, please go ahead and keep yourself muted, especially if there's background noise, and unless asked otherwise. Sometimes I might say, hey, does anybody have anything you want to add? Go ahead and unmute yourself and I'll call on you. So we'll do that. Go ahead and answer each other's questions in the chat. If you have questions, please go ahead and do it like this. Make sure that you're addressing it to everybody, and either write question or do 3 question marks in front of it in the chat, and that way it'll be super easy to find, and we'll know that that's a question. So I'll go ahead and address those at the end of the session, but go ahead. There's way more experience, knowledge, and wisdom in the room with everybody than just me. So if you have a good insight, don't hesitate to share in the chat box. Let's see, we're gonna have fun. I love this stuff. I'm really excited to share and learn with you today. Any questions before we start getting into the content? Oh, I'm based in Fort Collins, Colorado. Let's see, okay. And you'll see in this little picture, if you can't see the screen share, go ahead and bop a message in the chat. This is our outline. And you'll see near me, I've got some little bees and flowers at the top of my little text speech bubble. I love keeping bees. And so we're gonna do a little practice and learn about bees today during the session. Cool, okay. So our overview is going to be starting off basics of visual note-taking, whether it's digital or on paper. And, great question, Hillary. I didn't even say, so even though you're late, I didn't say what software I'm using. Hold please. So we're gonna start off with the basics, using things like size, color, containers, and layout to make your notes more visual. And again, like I said at the beginning, if you're not considering yourself an artist, even using those 4 things, you don't have to draw really. It's just the way that you approach writing and laying it out, and that can help you take more visual notes. And we'll do some quick tips on how to draw things. So if you have things that you know, hey, I work I do a lot of ecology. How do you draw flowers or trees easily? Drop it in the chat box and we can practice. And then after we do the basics, we're gonna go through tools. So hardware, apps, and programs. I'm currently using Adobe Fresco, and a huge shout out to Adobe for enabling me to be here at Learning Human all week. And then we'll have time for questions and playing. Mike asks, will the slide deck be available after I'm done? Oh, great. Thank you, Mike. You reminded me. I'm going to drop a file in the chat box. There's going to be a JPEG of this illustration, as well as a fillable PDF. So you can take notes either on your app if you want to print it out real fast or just type stuff in. So just a mo, and I'll drop these in. I just have to navigate through and find it for you. Okay. And we're loading. Perfect. Outline and worksheet. PDF is uploading. And JPEG is uploading. Engage as you see fit. Awesome. Cool. So you can also, I have good old-fashioned paper here in front of me because I'm analog too. Most of the work that I've done in the world has been on paper and on the wall. However, COVID times, so here we are. And Zoom is awesome because if you go to share your screen, one of the options is iPad, and you can just screen mirror and share your screen super easily. So, all right, basics of visual note taking. So go ahead and take a look at even this drawing here and take a look at how I've used size. So you can see, I'm gonna go ahead and get all layery here. Here's my title. And I've gone ahead and made it all caps and larger than everything else. Then you can see the subheadings are pretty easy to find because of two things. One is the size, they're my next size down. And then also we've got containers around them. So I like to do titles. I love to do just all caps. And you can even just think about, like, if you're using a outline format in Word document or Google Docs, you've got, like, the title is usually way larger than your subheadings. So just kind of using that as a guide for how to size content and give your eye something to focus in on really quickly. So size, titles, large, subtitles, and text. So pretty easy and intuitive, but something that, unless I've put conscious effort into, I don't think about all the time. Color, another really great tool. And this color is really, it's diverse because sometimes you can use color because of a feeling that it evokes, and sometimes you can use color because it draws the eye. So, man, we could talk for hours about all of this. Me and all of you. But I like to use color to use for both emotive and kind of like the feeling in the room, and also to draw the attention to something. So you can see in this case, I've just done black and white because I wanted to add some color for you. So I really like this nice teal green. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight these. And then I like to kind of work in triads of color. So color can draw the eye and show emotion. Okay, I want to do a test here or an experiment with you all. I'm going to go ahead and add a dollop of color to the canvas. And I'd love you in the chat to tell me what that brings up for you, or what feeling you get when you see that color. So. We have this nice red blotch. What does that remind you of, or what do you think of when you see red? Passion, fervor, warm, energy, blood. No, energy, grading, warmth, a stop sign, urgent, sun devils, here, stop, bad grades, stop, urgent. So you can see that this, even just this one simple color, simple, had so many emotional connections. So we had, oops, we had stop, grades, passion, urgent. So culturally, this is something that I've been really trying to be intentional about when I'm working with groups, is to understand what colors mean to them, whether it's branding or tradition and storytelling. So thinking intentionally about color. And then also, tell me who has, oh man, I should have found an example beforehand, but do you remember those websites with like a dark blue background and red text? Just like, oh my gosh, I'm having like a visceral reaction just thinking about it. So if you're thinking about how you use color, horrifying, exactly. Ugh, sounds pretty nasty. I want to use red as a highlight. I don't want to use red for a lot of text. So what I'll do is, if there's something important, maybe I'll put it kind of in my, as a background. Oop. You got to put that behind the text layer for it to be a background. But I'm not going to write all of my content in the red. I like to use cooler colors for content, and just kind of in general, I tend to use cooler colors, although looking at this, you wouldn't know. So thinking about branding, culture, and asking those questions ahead of time if you think that maybe there'd be a question around using color. Okay. Containers, awesome. So I'm using specific containers here. They're kind of loosey-goosey. I'm gonna remove the color layer here just so that you can see. I like to use containers that are imperfect because I can't draw a super perfect circle and I can't draw a super straight line as a human, and that's okay. I think something that's really fantastic about the visuals is that they are human connection, and we have so much really refined art and clip art and imagery in the world, that having this helps build that relationship that we are so craving in this digital platform, right? So it's okay not to be perfect. I'm just gonna write that. Maybe. You didn't know this was going to be a spiritual session, did you? Okay. So to make things look imperfect, I've done intentional squiggles. So right here, I'll draw I'll draw a line with an intentional squiggle, so that if it's not perfectly straight, it looks like I meant to do that. Or a circle, I'll make it like super imperfect, and that way it doesn't have to be totally smooth. I'm going to show you a different app here in a minute called Procreate. which helps you with straight lines and smooth shapes. And if I'm a betting woman, I bet that Fresco is working on that. They just released Fresco in the past few months. This is a super beta version, and it's awesome in a lot of ways. And you can also tell it's beta for a few things. So like smoothing lines and shapes. They did add, if you are like, I can't handle this imperfect stuff, there's a shape tool. So I can go ahead and fill that and then have a perfect circle there. And so that might make me feel nice. Okay. Great. So containers help chunk information, and then layout. Oh, sorry, before I move on from containers, something that I'll often do is, like you see here, speech bubbles. You can add the tail and then add a circle, or add the tail and add kind of a rectangle around it, or you can make it a dotted line. You can put arrows around things. And the way I like to actually do arrows is not the way I did it. I've let go of perfection, but you can, wherever you want the tip of the arrow to be, you can put a dot there and then draw back and then draw in and then draw your arrow like that. And that way you know where the point is instead of having like something like that. But that kind of looks cool. So, you know, do your arrows how you want to do them. Oh, and thought bubbles. If it's an unformed thought, you can think about how the containers connotate different things. So thought bubbles, if you make them kind of uneven, so I've got like some big burbles over here and then some little ones next to it, that makes it a little bit more engaging visually. Okay, excellent, Karina. We want to get into the hardware because that's really interesting. Okay. Let's just go ahead and cut and paste and hide that selection. All right, please don't be intimidated by the workflow. I know I'm going super fast and this is my full-time job. So we'll go through things slow, and there's tons of really great tutorials, and also you can be doing this on paper. So speaking of which, I am working on an iPad. I am looking at you on a Surface Pro. I have traditionally not been a Mac person, an Apple person. However, I'm slowly getting sucked into that because the tools just at the time when I was working really had more options. Now I know that Fresco is available for Windows and Android, and that wasn't available at the time, and it's got so many amazing features. But the iPad is awesome. You can, the gestures, so if I tap with 2 fingers, that is the undo. And if I tap with 3 fingers, then that redoes the thing. So I'll find myself working in my, this is so embarrassing, working in my paper notebook and tap it with 2 fingers. I did this yesterday and I was like, no, I can't undo on the paper. So watch out. So I use the iPad and currently I'm using Fresco by Adobe. And so if you are familiar with Adobe products, you can see the interface is kind of familiar, and the workflow where you can lasso something, but then you have to touch this button over here in order to move it. And I'm not even on the right layer. So, and then you have to tap deselect. It doesn't automatically deselect at any point. Okay, thank you, community, for also admitting that you tap inanimate objects to undo things. Okay, so the iPad is fantastic. I love that in Zoom, you can just screen share super seamlessly. Got to switch back. So the programs, Zoom screen share. And I believe that you can even use this on iPhones as well, but use Fresco on iPhones, but I'm not totally sure. But I tend to use my phone more for transferring files. Then over here, oh, the other thing, the cool thing about the pencil is if you double tap on it, it switches between pen and eraser, whereas the Surface Pen has an actual eraser. So if you're more kinesthetic and like that, then maybe that's your deal. Okay, so, and then I've used Surface is getting more options. And if you are not in the Mac world and have programs that you like, by all means, add them to the chat for people. I would like to know that too, because sometimes you need to work in different situations. Okay, this thing over here, what have I drawn that looks like an old school projector, Karina? Well, let me tell you, it's a new school projector. It's called the IPEVO, and it's a document camera. And you're probably all like, yeah, we're educators, we know about this stuff. But if you don't, I don't have one yet, but I know all the graphic recording world, this is like the jam. So you can just have it set up on your on your desk like this, and you can connect it to your computer. So when you're in Zoom, if you select it as a camera. So like you can select the front camera to face you, the rear camera is on the back of your laptop or tablet if you're walking around, and then this is another option. Oh, the reason that I drew the phone here is that sometimes I'll also attach my phone to a tripod and set it up, and you can see my massive whiteboard behind me. I'll attach paper to that or work on the whiteboard for a virtual session and have that be capturing, that will be my camera for Zoom. So I might have the Zoom meeting itself set up on my laptop so I can hear and see what's going on, but not enable the camera there and enable it on my phone. So I'm logged into Zoom twice to be able to share that. Also, the phones can take really cool time lapses. So depending on your outcomes, if you just wanted to time lapse the visual notes and then send that along with your notes to your students after the class, then that could be really cool. So the IPEVO document camera, it sits on your desk and you can be working on paper, and instead of your face, your beautiful faces, it'll see the paper. So if you want to get multimedia and be like gluing stuff or painting or whatever, or even just you prefer to work on paper, that's awesome. Let's see, apps and programs. So Fresco, super cool. A lot, I mean, I can tell it's got a lot of potential. One thing that I like in both Fresco and Procreate is that they have a time-lapse feature. So I'm not actually going to do the export, but I'm just going to show you. It remembers all of my strokes. So you can see me agonizing here about how I wanted to lay out the content, but it captures all of my brush strokes, and then you can export it as a time-lapse video, which was something that was not available at the time in like Sketchbook Pro on the Surface, which was part of the reason that I wanted to get an iPad. I wanted to make time-lapse videos, and this I can just export straight to Instagram or Dropbox or wherever I want to post it and share it. So okay, we're going to cancel that for now. I'm going to open up Procreate just so that you can experience it and show you a couple of things that I love about Procreate. Hold, please. Okay, so one thing you'll notice right away is that I I see those editing time-lapse questions. Hold on a second. The screen in Procreate takes up the entire screen on my screen share, whereas in Fresco, there was you could see all the tools and the black bar. So I can choose in preferences this project canvas option. It's the 4th button down, and you can't see my tools or my zooming. So that is really nice to keep people from getting seasick as I'm zooming around. Sorry, Procreate. Also, it's a clever name, right? Okay. So it's got project canvas, no tools or zooming. And it's got these cool like shape features. I don't know what, somebody else probably has a swanky name for it, but if I draw a circle and hold, you saw it snap there. If I draw a triangle and hold, it snaps to straight lines. If I draw a line and hold, it straightens. So that's pretty cool. It makes it, if you want to get a little bit type A about the way things are with shapes and stuff, it makes it really nice. I would say it also has like a slightly simpler interface. It's just not an Adobe interface. So if you're like, I can't handle Adobe, then maybe don't get Fresco, or open your mind and try it. I don't know. Let's see. It also has the time-lapse feature. It's got, I'm gonna let you see my tools. It's got a bunch of really interesting brushes. You can import brushes to both programs, which is super fun. I'm gonna show you this blotchy brush, which I think is just super nice texture. And let's see. Yeah, oh, this is really cool. One thing I love about this is the selection options. So you can do freehand, which is your classic lasso, and you can draw it however you want. Alternatively, you can use this automatic feature and just tap a shape, and you can see, oh, there's just a little bit that's highlighted. If I tap and hold, you can see at the top the selection threshold changes. I'm dragging it left and right across my screen. And then I can keep tapping, and then I can select all these, and then maybe change the color. Of course, it's, oh, I need to not erase. I don't know, usually it works, but I'm not gonna drag it on. Usually you can just change the color. You can drag from the corner, and that's how you fill. I'm not gonna go into all the details of workflow. So I'm gonna go back to Fresco. Oh, M is, let's see, it's both. This is for mural and Miro, because they both are similar words and start with M and have similar features, but Miro has a mind map tool. So you can like have a concept in the middle, and then like it automatically builds a mind map for you. So if you're like, I don't want to draw at all, but I want this visual cool thing, Miro has the mind map. And Mural, so Mural and Miro are essentially real-time co-creation platforms. So kind of like Google Docs or Slides. You can invite a bunch of people in to be co-creating collaboratively. So there's sticky notes, there's drawing features, which are pretty clunky at this point, but I'm sure we'll get better because we've been hammering them about that. You can import links, docs, images. It's really pretty incredible. So real-time sharing and collaboration tools. And what I like to do with them is they have some templates already available on these tools. I like to create something like this, custom, and import it into like a mural or mural canvas as the background. And then you can make it however you want, and it's really interesting and beautiful. So that's apps and programs. I'm gonna go ahead and pause for a second and go back through some of these questions. And if you have more questions or ideas, go ahead and add them in now, and then if not, I have an activity to practice. So, okay. Free option for drawing is the Concepts app, and I have used that too. It's great. It doesn't have some of the features that these other ones do, but it's really awesome. Paper app on the iPad, absolutely. I know that has been really popular. The time lapse, can you edit the time lapse? No, that is, well, you can, it's not embedded in the programs. It's just like, it remembers all of your brush strokes, and that's what you get. So when I'm doing time lapse or quick draw videos for clients, I either have to import it into an editing software or be really, really good about not undoing things. I think Procreate used to not remember your undo brush strokes, but then they do now, so for whatever reason. But let's all ask Adobe to be able to edit the time lapse, okay? Okay, no other question. Oh, question has just appeared. How do you take notes and listen to the content? My left and right brain will explode. Thinking about students. Awesome. Okay, so getting into some science here. It's kind of the same as any sort of note taking or anything new that you learn. You've got to practice, and you've got to be easy on yourself. And actually doing the visual and the listening together helps you remember things. So dual coding theory, science. I wrote part of my master's thesis like 8 years ago on using this to communicate climate science. So like I said, I'll geek out. So dual coding. Anybody either know what dual coding theory is or want to take a crack at what they think it is? You can feel free to unmute yourself. You learn better when you use visuals and language. Heck yeah, Hillary. So dual to coding, understanding. So when you see and hear, that's an ear, just so you know, there's the hair. When you see and hear, then you're more likely to remember an idea. Same goes for movement. So that's something that I loved last night, that Brian got us moving around with some activities after the campfire. So if you also add an emotion, that increases memory more. If you think to your most poignant memories, the things that you remember so clearly, I guarantee there's a strong emotion associated with them. So if you're able to draw something that's funny or captures the intensity of the moment, or using color to capture that, that can really help students remember things. And if you're like, oh, you know, how do I think about drawing and taking notes at the same time? Maybe it just starts off with linear notes, and you think about, what emoji would I use here? Think about emojis. They're so tiny and so simple, and they communicate so much. So use your emoji power to help you. And it might just be as simple as a mind map. So where you've got your topic in the middle, and then content 1, content 2, content 3, and then lines off from that. So you're really just using words, but you're laying it out in a different way. Okay, Do you place certain things on different layers? Great question. Okay, there's different schools of thoughts, so you decide what works best for you. You can see my layers over here are a total cluster right now because I've just been capturing content with you. What I typically, oh yeah, and that's even a subgroup. Oh, one more thing. I'll come back to that. Difference between Procreate and Fresco. Typically what I like to do with layers is have, come on. Well, I don't even know where that was. Layers. I like to have a black and white layer, and then I like to have a color layer behind it. And then sometimes I'll even have a shading layer if I want to do shadows. Some people do it where they've got, and this is how I did it actually this time. I put these chunks of content on different layers. So the basics is one layer. Oop, I don't know what that means yet. The tools and all of this stuff that I've been diddling around with is one layer. And then questions and play is one layer because I kept moving them around. I wasn't sure what layout I wanted. So some people do it by chunk of content and some people do it by black and white and color. The color, black and white and color is nice. You could do each. You could do like my basics layer and then basics color layer underneath it. And then you can color behind it. And what's nice about that is it doesn't overtake the black writing. It goes behind. So that's why I like to make a separate color layer. And then if you're like, I actually wanted that to be blue, then you can just change that really easily and it doesn't affect the content. My instructional designer heart is so excited you're talking about dual coding. It goes in hand with the Mayer's multimedia theories. Sarah, do you want to give us the skinny on the Mayer's multimedia theories, either verbally or in chat? I don't actually know what Mayer's multimedia theories are. We will be hanging. Sarah, if you want to enlighten us, feel free to. Otherwise, I'll Google it afterwards. Oh,
I was trying to type, but I've got my hands full. And if you hear him, that's why. So Mayer's multimedia theories are a set of 12 standards that kind of guide people who are designing for learning on things like, one of them is chunking, like, making sure that your information is in bite-sized chunks, and it talks about how much you can do at one time. So dual coding is is a lot like that, where you're determining, okay, well, people can only handle so many threads cognitively, so I'm going to design my lecture, say, with less text on the slides, but but you want to make sure that you're articulating verbally with visuals, and then for accessibility, you want to do subtitles for that too.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah, and little one with you. That's awesome. Heck yeah, moms. You touched on this idea that I really love, which is another theory, cognitive load. So we can keep track of about 7 chunks of information at a time before we start losing track of them. So using the visual, you can help your students or your team of teachers stop having to keep track of who said what exactly and be able to think about how ideas might connect. So it really facilitates systems and connection of different ideas. So thank you so much, Sarah. The Clark and Mayer book on multimedia design is big in instructional design. Thank you, Lee. How many instructional designers do we have? Do we have a lot of, like, Who are you people who have joined us? Sounds like we've got a couple. That's awesome. Oh, now I'm expanding my little window of y'all. Okay. Great. Do we have any other questions, or would you like a chance, hand raise, would you like a chance to practice to a little video? Yeah, I'm hearing in my head, you all want to practice. Okay. One more question. Okay, I take a lot of physical notes, but never go back to them. How do I improve on that? That's another great question. Again, my context tends to be more in conferences, whether that's educational or research, or corporate groups doing things that they're like, okay, we want to do a strategic plan, or we want to outline a white paper, or we want to share this with the greater organization because we have this brilliant idea. If you create something with visuals, I have been told time and time again, this is all anecdotal, but it's 10 years of anecdotes, that the only reason people look at our reports is because your drawings are in there. Or, you know, that we don't ever look at flip charts, but we love looking back on these charts. So, and I found when I was in school, I tended to do mind map notes, and maybe sometimes I draw like a little icon or an exclamation point or a star. This was before I knew about all of this visual note taking. And even just that would spark a memory in my mind about where on the page it was. It's like, oh, I remember I drew an exclamation point next to that, and it was near the bottom left page. So let me just flip through my notes real fast and I'll be able to find that. So even if it's just simple linear notes and you have an icon next to it, that can help. Let's see. Okay, so what I want to do is offer you a chance to practice. Now, going into this is fun, damn it. Okay, this is fun. And I want you to be kind to yourselves. I'm going to show we only have 5 minutes left. I'm going to show you a 2-minute video on honeybees because I keep bees and I think they're super neat. They are not hornets or wasps. They're really sweet. And this is an opportunity to listen. I think it's a great science communication piece. And you can practice taking a visual note, however feels exciting to you. So I'm going to reshare my screen, and man, I wish we had like a half an hour more so that we could debrief this. But if you want to jump on Slack and message me afterwards, I will happily debrief with you, or I'm going to put my email address in the chat so you can communicate with me. So I'm going to share this video, give it a whirl. If you just want to take linear notes and practice icons, fantastic. Do this how it best serves you. Okay.
I study all different kinds of social bees because you really need to look at social bees to study their communication. I look at honeybees, bumblebees, and stingless bees. Honeybees have this amazing ability to communicate, and it's one of the reasons why I became a biologist, because I discovered as an undergraduate that they could communicate using a waggle dance. Inside Science. So a bee that dances inside the nest, let's say she goes out to find a good food source. She'll find that flower, and if it's rewarding enough, she'll come back and she'll do this dance. It almost looks like a figure eight of a bee dancing back and forth and then waggling her butt, if you will, her abdomen. And that waggling is key because the angle at which she's waggling and the duration of time she spends doing it actually tells bees where to go to find food. They can tell each other where to go, how far away to fly, and what distance to go to actually find the food source. Basically, the longer she spends shaking or waggling, the further away the food source is. So another amazing part of this communication system, which hasn't been studied as clearly, is the fact that bees can actually use sound in some ways. They can generate sounds during the waggle dance, but the primary way that they use sound is they sense through vibrations. So they're not hearing the way that we hear, but they can feel these vibrations. We discovered some time ago that bees can use this vibrational signal called the stop signal. And what happens is that a bee will go up to another bee, let's say I'm another bee dancing, and she will butt her head against that dancer and cause that dancer to momentarily freeze. So people had known that for a long time, but what we found is that it actually inhibits her dancing. Now, why would bees do this? It turns out that if something dangerous is at the food source, let's say they've been attacked by a spider or a wasp, essentially she should stop dancing, stop trying to tell her nestmates to go somewhere that's bad. I hope that people take advantage of resources, go online, and realize that there are many more species than just honeybees. In fact, there's an amazing diversity of bees. When we think about the flower beds that we enjoy, or we go to a florist or go to a wedding, we see all these amazing flowers. The story of these flowers, all these plants, is integrally tied with the evolution of bees.
Awesome. So I wish I'd managed time differently. Hindsight is 2020. But if anybody wants to share, just real quick popcorn, unmute yourself. How was that? Was there something that really stuck with you? And just kind of an overall reflection. You can type it into the chat too if you prefer. Waggling, I know. Waggle dance, come on. I just love it. Yeah, who's that? I love all those shots of the bees covered in pollen too. Ooh, Sarah's gonna share. Heck yeah, oh, nice honeybee. Love it, thank you for being brave and sharing, and also for bringing your little one with you.
One thing I noticed is the time went super fast, and I felt like it was hard for me to capture the key pieces of information. Need to work on that pathway into my ears and out of my hands, through the brain.
You know, as storytellers, you all know the shorter the story to tell, the more difficult it is to get it into that packet of information, the sounds and visuals. And so oftentimes these short videos are super packed. So it's okay if you didn't get everything. Those are the hardest to do. Whereas a half-hour lecture, they might go back, they might spend a lot more time on it, you can color. Ooh, Hillary put hers in the chat. Let's see. Open file. You all are so brave. I love it. Thank you for sharing to everybody. I also find that there's a mindset shift around this. Oh my gosh, you got embedded a picture. Okay, can I share this? Really quick, and then we gotta split. So if you need to leave, that's cool. Here's Hillary's note. Look at that. She imported a picture of a honeybee and had different colors around here and the motions of the waggling and the arrow. Love it. I love it. Fantastic. So time is now. I'll be around for the rest of the week. If you want to find me in Slack, sometimes in Verbella, I'll be in the sessions. My email address is in the chat. I'd love to share resources. Thanks, Emily, for dropping that resource in the chat box as well. So go ahead and save the chat if you haven't already and you want those. And thank you, just from the bottom of my heart, for taking a chance and doing some drawing with us today, thinking visually. Oh, and submit your submissions to Windows to the Future of Learning, please. Share the word.